Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 59 on Sunday, the 7th of November, 2021. As always, I'm joined by Mike.
Hello, everyone.
And Swinny.
Hello.
In this week's show, we'll be discussing Blizzard's woes continue with huge game delays. What's the future of Super Smash Bros. Series? Impressions of the biggest game of next week, Forza Horizon 5, and our review of the Australian quirky unpacking simulator game, Unpacking. As always, if you want to support the show, jump on the socials, follow us, subscribe, like, pay us money, go on Patreon, demand a Patreon that we don't have. All the links, it's very easy. Just go to bigwigpod.com. You can check the descriptions for the links. You can jump on there and come and support us. Say hi. And Swinny, you've got some really key news in the intro.
Yes, so no, it's not me hyping my Kemco tier list like you probably thought.
Oh, I actually thought
it would be that.
Although I will maybe give a bit of an update later when we talk about the games I've been playing this week.
I genuinely thought that's what it was.
No, I just wanted to say that last week during our Facebook meta segment, you made a joke, integot, that you thought that they may rename the company to The. And I laughed on my heart, chuckle, and then 6 days later, I finally got the joke.
Oh.
And I'm like, because the clip went live, and then I listened to that was like right at the beginning. I'm like,
Oh my god!
now I get it because they used to be called The Facebook.
And they abbreviated it to
You're
Facebook.
worse than you're like Joe Jives. So our friend Joe, whose favorite film of all time is Dumb and Dumber.
Is that really his favorite film of all time?
I think it's his favorite film. Yeah. So he's watched it many times, many times.
Sure.
Anyway, about I don't know. He was in his mid-20s or something, reaching his 30s, and he's driving down the highway and he sees an ad for Samsonite. And finally he goes, "Oh, Samsonite! I was way off." The joke finally made sense after like 15 years or something, or 20 years of him seeing that movie.
That's like me
So it's about
watching
the same.
Red Dwarf as a kid, which I loved, but there's so many jokes that until I watched it later as an adult, I'm like, now I get why that's so funny. You know?
Super funny.
There's a lot of perils of being a parent, but one of the coolest things actually, it's almost like going through all of popular media again with the kid, like on an age appropriate basis, obviously, but you start to watch things and I'm like, oh, I didn't really understand that. Even in a Disney movie, it's like the little kind of nudge, wink, wink, all that kind of stuff, especially in The Simpsons. Oh my God, there's so much, so many jokes. It feels like it's taken to my ripe old age to actually understand. So
One of my favorite. Yeah, go.
No, I was just saying, talking about cartoons, like, there's a Reddit thread that's something like shower thoughts or something like that. And I think I read something that's like, when just the Lion King movie, just the first movie, I don't know about the others, it's like, you don't actually know what time period the Lion King is set in.
oh,
Like,
I love that.
That's a good shower thought.
That's good. All right, hey, before we get into what we've been playing this week, I wanted to ask you a question because my wife gave me an answer that kind of blew me away. I read this stat in the newspaper about
5 inches, but it's thick. Sorry, go on.
that Zoomers, so folks who grew up not seeing September 11 but growing up in the aftermath, so like 20-year-olds, that they were asked the question, how much money would you have to be paid so you don't have a phone? So maybe you have a dumb phone, but you don't have a smartphone for the rest of your life, right? Now, I want to ask you guys, what's your number? And I'll say what the average number is, and I'll say what my wife said.
Okay.
So maybe with you, Swinny, because I think you will be the lowest.
So can you have anything like a tablet?
No, but you can't have a tablet using it like as if it's a phone. So
No, I'm saying, like, do you have an equivalent that you could take around with you to, like, browse the internet?
let's say no.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can have a laptop, you have desktop, and the
The rest
dumb
of my
phone.
life, the tricky part with that is you just don't know how much more important a smartphone is going to get.
Sure.
More and more and more.
But I don't think they'll ever force anyone to mandatorily have a smartphone. Like in Australia, we have these crazy rules. You have to check into every place. Not that I'm skipping doing that.
For the rest of my life, it'd have to be, I don't know.
How much money?
I don't know, 10 mil?
10 mil? Oh, okay. Okay. That's way higher than I thought you would be, to be honest. Because I think out of everyone I know, I think you would get rid of it the easiest if you had a dumb phone.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it's like when I'm without my phone these days, I'm just like, man, what do I do? You know. But the reason I say 10 mil is because that's a long amount of time, and a lot's going to happen in that time. You know, whereas 10 mil is like, okay, that's you could be comfortable. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With that, so.
Definitely. How about you, Mike?
So for those who are watching this on the internet, not listening to it, watching this, this is what my old phone looks like. It's in a million pieces. I literally took it apart in as many pieces as I wanted. What happened a few days ago? Well, what has it been? It's been about a week now. No, I gotta tell you guys this because it's part of the answer.
Yeah,
I'll answer your question
run.
in a roundabout kind of way. So about a week ago, the phone completely stopped working. I was working on my car installing a new Bluetooth system, took the whole console apart, and my phone, for whatever reason, when I looked down at it, the screen was half gone. Something must have leaked in it. Believe it or not, it might actually have been sweat. So I think I had it in my pocket. The screen was cracked. Sweat permeated into the actual cracks from my leg sitting next to my dick. And I kid you not, it actually destroyed the screen and went into the liquid crystals and destroyed it.
Incredible. Sweat destroyed your phone.
Sweat destroyed my phone. Yeah, I kid you not. So anyway,
sweat destroyed phone.
Yep, sweat destroyed phone. So
I'm writing it down.
I know.
This thing was well and truly properly used, as you can probably see in this. It's completely smashed.
Anyway, it's all smashed up. I remember, he showed us a video in our private
smashed.
chat, and it was all screwed up.
Now, the reason why I mentioned that isn't to talk about my broken phone, because no one gives a shit about that. It's the fact that in the transition period where I couldn't really use that phone properly, I couldn't go and do anything. I couldn't really use the screen properly. The only thing I could do is pretty much plug it into my computer, somehow manage to use the touchscreen to unlock it, and sufficient just to be able to download all my photos of my cat, of which there were about 10,000, I shit you not. And then moving on to a new phone and not having all the stuff set up. So I didn't have Signal, for example, for a while. Didn't have WhatsApp anymore. Didn't have any of those messaging systems. Man, it felt fucking awesome. It felt so good not getting all the notifications every single bloody minute from all this shit that I just honestly...
Which you don't need to set it up
mostly
like that,
don't need... No, I know you don't, but inevitably you do. Inevitably everyone does, right? I don't need 2 donuts, but I ate 6 of them today. That's
you had
just the
6
way it
donuts
works
today.
I did.
Wait, hang on. What size donuts are we talking about?
These are the Daniel ones.
What's that? I don't know what that is.
Like the proper freaking full-size donuts, man.
Dude,
they're like,
okay.
Have you had them? They're like that big.
I've never heard of a Daniel donut. I'm sure that makes me stupid and wrong.
Daniel's donuts.
I have
it's
never
new.
heard of Daniel
You guys have to check it out.
I've never heard this. Number 2, half of the audience is from the US, right? So it's like you're talking about a super regional, like even if for Australia, it's a regional
I don't
thing.
know. I think it's a chain thing. It's not. It's not
but
just
like,
a
it's not
one-off
an
thing.
international chain. But anyway, 6
donuts.
full-size donuts.
Okay, maybe
full-size
it was
donuts.
5, but around there, yeah.
Jesus,
it was a lot
dude,
of
that's
donuts.
a lot, dude. No offense.
And by the way, these are amazing.
And I'm a fat
they
bastard.
shit all over Krispy
Like,
Kremes.
Okay.
I'm turning into a fat bastard too.
Yeah.
Anyway, donuts have nothing to do with the story. So to answer your question in a super roundabout kind of way, which included donuts for some reason, I think I would do it for whatever money would be sufficient, like Swinny said, to be able to comfortably live the rest of my life and not worried that much about shit. So if you talk about having to buy a house and then having enough to then, have some spending money for quite a while, I would comfortably do it for like 2 mil, I reckon. Yeah. Yeah.
So
because honestly, I don't give a shit. I could probably give it up tomorrow and I'd be happier than I am now not having it.
I think in your case, because you lack a lot of self-control, that's very true.
Totally lack self-control.
That's very true.
He'd use that 2 mil to buy phones.
No, I wouldn't.
You
wouldn't know, but he wouldn't be allowed.
He'd break his off just like our New Year's resolution.
You wouldn't be allowed to do that though. That wouldn't be part. Then you'd lose your money. You'd lose.
What you would do.
You would say imaginary rules. It's just like,
can you guys buy me a phone for my birthday?
Loophole.
That's true.
Oh, I need a phone for the podcast. I need a phone for work. Okay.
I got one even better, Swinny. You get enough money that he could hire someone to hang around with him all the time who has a phone. And he can instruct, okay, Google this type of porn for me.
All right, hold the phone right there. No, a bit down. A bit. Oh, that's it. That's the spot.
Hold it
Yeah.
steady.
He'll get himself a PA just for this.
Well, my answer is probably about similar to you. I reckon 2 to 3 mil. I reckon.
Yeah.
10 mil is like shocking to me, Swinny, that you said that. But
Look, I mean, you asked us out of nowhere. It's
yeah,
like,
no, fair enough.
I kind of was just thinking to myself also, you know, like, it depends what you do with the money as well. Do you invest it? And then suddenly, you know, like, that money's worth a lot more over time as opposed to, oh, I've got 10 mil current day amount.
Yeah.
You know, so
But it's still going to work maybe during this time,
when
right?
I asked my wife,
what did
her
you say?
immediate answer was $100 million. I'm like,
Wow.
wait. So if they said $50 million, you'd say no. And she goes, no way. I'm like, $50 million. Like,
Really?
And then I think she didn't really understand. Even though I said you can have a dumb phone, she's like, oh, but, you know, because I can't text anyone. I'm like, you know, you can text on a dumb phone. You can call and text on those phones. You just can't browse the internet and stuff like that. So then she came down to 20 million. So it actually shows how much she values texting
isn't it?
at $80 million for the rest of her life. So no.
Wow.
Anyway, you know, the generation after millennials, it was like $5 million was the average. And I think 1 in 5 said they will lose a finger to keep their phone.
Wow.
that's that's not happening.
It better not be the thumb or a practical finger you actually need for texting.
That's true. And to
Take my
maintain
pinky.
our video game rating in the Apple podcast categories, we do need to move to what games we've been playing.
Oh, yeah.
So we will go to our opening segment, which is what we've been playing this week. So Mike, what have you been playing this week?
All right. So I played, same game as you played, a little indie gem
Aussie
made
indie
by
gem.
Aussie developers.
Sorry, you were about to say that.
From Brisbane, called Unpacking. I'm not going to talk more about it because we're going to do a segment on it, but we have thoughts, many thoughts.
You finished the game, both of us?
We did.
I've contacted the devs, so there's
You
a little...
have?
Yeah, they came
Awesome.
back to me, so I had a little conversation with them. You know, a
Sweet.
little bit of a, you know, hype for the end of the show. Skip ahead.
Fantastic. Awesome. Cool.
There's time
I
codes.
I finished it twice nearly, so
Oh.
if that's anything to say. And the other little game, it's a bit more obscure, I think, than Unpacking. Not as many people I think are aware of this one. Is Horizon 5. So
Horizon 5, okay.
Forza Horizon 5.
They've made
yeah.
4 sequels to Horizon Zero Dawn.
They did. They did. So
Horrible joke.
I'll do a proper review on it. Hopefully my review won't be as horrible as that joke.
A review. You can already do a review. How many hours?
I'll do a proper look. It's going to be a bit of an impression, but I think I could probably do a full review. To be honest, I played it enough now. I played
It
it
better
quite a
be
lot.
called. It better be impressions because that's what the segment is called.
It'd be
you
impressions, but
and we're teasing for next week that we're going to do a review of it.
Oh,
So that's why I'm
okay.
also
Well,
trying
then
to
I
save the
will
segment.
reserve most of my thoughts for next week.
It's
then.
a pre-review.
It's a pre-review
Oh,
review.
like a preview.
Yeah,
Preview.
it's like there's a word for that already.
Wow. What will they think of next? So that's one. Again, because and I might as well say it out now, if you get the premium upgrade or the premium edition of it, you can play it early. Otherwise, it's only coming next
Which
week.
is
In case people are going, how the hell did you get a copy of it?
Helpful for the people who are like tuning in right now, because most people will be hearing it when it's on Game Pass for free.
They probably will by then, yeah.
It's
but just in case.
It's pretty insane. I think they've had nearly 1 million people playing the game already.
What? Really?
Yeah, not surprised. Yeah.
Well, buying the
it's
premium version.
huge.
Yeah.
This game's gonna be
Huge
massive.
game.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll save it for the hype
we'll
later. For
save
the
it.
impression.
And then the other game I played a little bit of, not a little bit, more of, was Resident Evil. Wait. Resident Evil Village.
8-inch.
8-inch. So played a bit more of this. Love the game. Absolutely love it. As I said, I think last week, I love the direction that the Resident Evil series has gone in. It's the perfect mix of retaining that Resident Evil-ness, where really it's kind of a Metroidvania kind of game. You know, you may not necessarily get certain new abilities and stuff to open doors, but there are certain things you need to do, and then you got to come back to an area, and then you can access other parts and all sorts of stuff like that. So excellent game, love it.
I reckon we need on our podcast to have like a stamina bar or something, which is, you know, every time we mention Metroidvania or Dark Souls or Souls-like or whatever it is, it just gets depleted a bit and doesn't renew very quickly.
Right. So the next thing, which is somehow related, and again in a roundabout way, I'll explain why, is I got my hands on the Switch OLED.
Do you have the box in front of you?
I do not have the box in front of me, unfortunately. Oh no, wait, I do. I actually do have it.
So
So
a bit of context. Swinny and I knew that Mike was going to get the Switch OLED, even though he stated, and maybe I could do like a smash cut right now, that you're not going to get one. I don't need and then you ended up buying one like straight away.
it is inevitable. So yes, I ended up with the Switch OLED because they had an eBay sale, and it's not that I want to Switch OLED. I want to save money by spending money, basically. So tell you what though, I love it. Love it in the sense that as someone who plays mostly handheld, it is truly a no-brainer. So if you have a current Switch and you mostly play handheld, totally worth the upgrade. Sell your existing Switch, get the OLED. It is amazing handheld. If you're obviously only playing docked, as we've talked about before, waste of money really, because it does the same thing. But handheld, amazing. Just visually, it is so beautiful. Those rich blacks are phenomenal. Love it. Love the new OLED screen. The only thing I didn't love is the 3 screen protectors I had to go through till one of them actually worked properly, and that had nothing to do with me.
What happened?
So I bought an original pack of 2 screen protectors. The first one had a little. From Amazon.
Let's call these brands out so people can avoid it.
Man, I do not. I'd have to go look at the brands. Unfortunately, I think I got in a little late, which means all the good brands were sold out.
Yeah,
so
I got AM Film. It's too bad we're not in the same city anymore.
I have AM Film as well. So
oh, you didn't
that's
like
the second.
it?
No. So that's the second batch I bought. So the first batch was something else, and the first one had a little bit of stuff underneath, and it was not for me. I literally pulled the film and plunked it straight down. So I doubt it was for me. And the second one actually had a bit of damage on the glass itself.
Really?
Yeah, but
I
it was
have heard
so
that happens,
you could sort of run around the thing, and I'm like, man, both of them were just screwed up.
Did you get a
So
refund?
then I ordered a new pack of the AM films, which I can sort of recommend. But I noticed even on that one, there's a tiny little imperfection of a scratch, and on the very side, there's two particles as well, which again, 100% I did not do. But it's sort of off the side where it's not on the actual screen itself, so I don't give a shit. So I'm leaving it as that.
So
yeah, I've got the AM Film. I've always bought them. I think they're pretty good.
So you're saying about the screen protector, but what about the cracks? You got to protect it from your sweat. You don't want to end up in a million pieces.
I know. I probably should be careful with that stuff. I must have some sort of alpha sweat.
Alpha sweat. Animal sweat, maybe. Yeah, go on.
So that's it. So yeah, love the Switch.
It's good, isn't it, man?
No, it's fantastic. As handheld, honestly, I mean, if you were to buy a new Switch right now, definitely get the OLED if you can. Worth the extra money.
I think we always said that. Like if you're coming in fresh, it makes perfect sense. I think if you're on a launch Switch like me, it makes perfect sense. I just think for folk like Swinny, who's already got. And you play mostly docked, Swinny, right?
Yeah.
A bit of handheld, but mostly docked.
Yeah, generally, it's like I don't also use my Switch enough to justify it, because also it's like the biggest thing for me would just be, okay, I need new Joy-Cons. But as you said, I generally use a docked anyways.
Yeah, so it makes no difference. Yeah.
But I recommend it.
It's hard for me to go back. I set it all Animal Crossing up for my wife. She plays so much of that game, and because of the new update. And just looking at that screen and then like the new one and everything, I'm like,
you're right. I feel like a snob in saying this, but it really it's jarring. It's weird. It's like going from 60 to 30 or something.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't mean to sound like a snob, but it's a nicer screen. It's
interesting because when I went back to using my 3DS after using the Switch, it was like that jump as well. I know that's more drastic.
Yeah.
But it was that same like. You have to really adjust.
It's exactly like that.
It's I'm almost debating about getting a 3DS XL because I've got the little new 3DS, like the smaller form factor size. Not that common in America, but I like it because I could get the Super Nintendo version of it, and it's just like too small. And it's I don't know. It's so true. I went back to play Samus Returns, and I'm like, oh, can they just please release this game on the Switch? I'll buy it again from scratch. Like, I'm fine. It's just, it's a little bit frustrating.
So just very quickly, by the way, speaking of Switch and games, and the segue from Resident Evil to the Switch, I started playing both in parallel, which is kind of weird. The remake of Resident Evil, the original, so the one that came out on GameCube, and obviously then got ported to a million different things.
That's Resident Evil Zero, right?
No. The original Resident Evil
Oh
remake.
my
Yeah,
God.
Zero is a separate game as well. Yeah, which I also have. So I'll probably play this and then I'll play Zero, and also Resident Evil 4 on the Switch, which is effectively really just an Xbox port. I think they haven't really taken full advantage of the console, which is a bit of a shame, but it's still a fantastic game. So
Okay,
Resident
cool.
Evil for everyone.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Resident Evil 4 VR, but might be next year, honestly, the way it's tracking. So yeah, I also played Unpacking, awesome Aussie game. We'll cover it with a review later. I have also finished Luigi's Mansion 3. Very awesome game. I just wish there were like more games like this that respect your time. You know, like Uncharted and, you know, games that are like a dozen hours or so, right? Feels like so many people hate these kind of games where it's just like, oh, you know, it's too short. I didn't get enough content. Awesome puzzles, like really enjoyed it. You know, quite challenging at times. I read a lot of people would jump online actually to solve some of them because they just couldn't work it out. Like they really use all of the different mechanics that you have in the game. I thought the third act was probably a little bit weak, but you know, honestly, in a game, you know, if the third act's the worst, probably, you know, what is it? Not even half of the people will get up there anyway. But yeah, like it's a very solid game. You know, it's like a 7 to 8 out of 10. I really recommend it if you have kids. Like very fun game and cartoony. The other one is that I just started playing this week because the expansion, so the second part of the DLC is out, is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And man, I love this game. Like I kind of personally hate the term guilty pleasure, but it is that kind of guilty pleasure where it's just like it's just a fun rompy game that's stupid, and you know, you do dumb combos and it's you're killing thousands of enemies each level, but it's just a very fun game loop. Like it's kind of not the same, but similar to Monster Hunter where you just, if you enjoy the game loop, it's just, you know, heaps of content. The thing though that it's quite funny is like the story in this game is just not better, but it's just more detailed than Breath of the Wild, which is kind of hilarious. And also, the weapons don't break, so maybe this would be your favorite game, Swinny.
I've always wanted to try the Hyrule Warriors games, but again, as you said, it's just, you know, you've said it before, you know, the performance aspects, but also just
Can I just pause you on that for a second, just because it's pertinent? Because I wanted to raise it, so it's good timing. I actually like it's really weird. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like when I played it when it came out, I was like, damn, this game is like so like choppy. I don't know if they've done patches and stuff, but or like maybe like this is gonna be weird. I don't know if this is possible, but maybe my Switch, because I got it on day one, was starting to get like laggy or something, right? And I'm thinking, man, like maybe that was a contributing factor to it. Because I was playing this and I'm like, this is not too bad. Like there's some slowdown every now and then, but it's totally, it's actually almost as much slowdown as Breath of the Wild. I was like, oh, okay, this is really weird. So I just wanted to mention that because I did have huge issues with that. And I'm so glad I went back to it now.
Does it run better on the new processor? Sorry, Swinny.
No, they just extend the battery life.
The biggest thing for me is just there's just too many games to
Yes.
play. Like I still haven't played through Xenoblade Chronicles, you know,
Yeah.
like I've had that sit my Switch installed for like a year and a half, and I'm just like, at some point I'll get back and get past the first like 2 hours of that game, you know, and then just too many games, and I keep buying more.
Yeah, this is not a 10 out of 10 game, right? This is like a solid 7 out of 10. But I think because I played, you know, a few hard games, then Luigi's Mansion, which was like so many puzzles the whole way through, was like no relaxation almost. It's actually almost relaxing playing this game. It's just a bit of fun. The other ones, I installed It Takes Two because that came to Game Pass. I might try to play that with my wife or Mike, whoever gets in first.
Oh,
So.
I've heard that is a testing game for relationships.
Really? Okay, maybe I'll wait then.
Just flagging that.
All
I've
right.
heard that from multiple people.
All right,
I'm
maybe I'll
sure
wait
it's
then.
fun to play.
Maybe play it with me.
Yeah, I'll play with you, Mike.
Yeah, the let's just
The
say
themes,
the
right?
themes of the
That's-
game as well.
Yeah,
Also,
okay. I'm gonna skip it then.
yes.
I'm gonna skip it. We'll play it together, Mike. Maybe we'll stream
Okay.
it. Do you want to stream it? Do you want to commit to that?
Yeah, I reckon we should stream it.
All right,
Yep.
done.
May as well.
Other things are, and we'll chat more about it next week. But and I always butcher this guy's name, but we did a feature on Cruel World like 3 or 4 months ago, and the dev of Cruel World, Droken. Do you reckon that's how to say it? Droken?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. It's
Well,
a Q and
let's
an
ask.
E. It's always hard, right?
At some point,
Please let us
hopefully,
know if it's not
yes.
correct.
Yeah, I'll ask him how to phonetically say it. But he spent October making a brand new game each day, making a complete mockery of
That's
Mike
sick.
and my, New Year's
You guys can't even
resolution.
make one in 365 days.
Yeah, we
I'll
said
do
we
one
want to
every
make
day.
one game in 365 days, and he's made one game per day in October. So I've played,
wild.
I don't know, like 4 of the days, and yeah, like I think we're all going to play through those games. We'll cover it next week. It's really cool. I'm really excited to see how you guys see it. And I have been going long, but Elden Ring. So we had a gameplay trailer.
You watched it?
You will notice that we have not got it in our stories because we're trying to go blind on a bit. Did I watch it, boys? Should
I
I
reckon he did.
tell you all the things that happened in this?
No. Wait, I got headphones on.
Well,
La, 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 la,
should
la.
we quickly go around and confirm who has and hasn't?
Okay, yeah,
watched
Swinny,
it?
have you watched this gameplay trailer?
I've watched someone else watch it.
So you've
What?
watched it?
Maybe.
Oh
I've watched
shit!
someone else watch it.
So you've watched a reaction to it, but then effectively you watched it.
Yes, I did. I
Mike?
did.
I've not watched it.
Wait, have you watched it?
I watched bits and pieces of
Yeah.
it. I didn't watch it. I would. So I
That's,
had
wait,
it
can I just
running-
say? Well, I'll give him my answer and I'll
Yeah.
throw it back to you.
Yeah.
I thought, shit, I'll not take one for the team, but I'm like, I've been bad. I've actually skipped through and watched bits
Wow.
of it. So we've all fucking watched it to some degree. And we all say we're going to go blind on
Well,
it.
to be fair, I haven't really watched it properly.
We should have
I
streamed
had it
it.
running just to listen to the commentary while it was playing, and I kind of took small glimpses at it, but really small glimpses because I didn't want to know anything. I kind of just wanted to hear what the guy was saying. So I don't know the areas. I don't know any of the stuff.
Yeah. And I ordered it from Amazon. You guys, what did you guys do?
Thanks to Integot, who was flagging it with us, I got myself the collector's edition.
Yeah, same.
Not the one big fancy one with the helmet. The
Well, we
one
don't have that
that's-
in Australia.
Yeah. we can order it.
and I got that from EB Games because JB Hi-Fi, the stupidity, the fact that you pre-order from them, but it's only delivery. So
Yeah,
unless
that's
you
so
plan on
annoying.
buying a separate version of the game to play on release,
I
you're
would
not
never do
gonna-
that.
you're not going to be able to. You get that from JB. You're not going to be able to play that game until like a week later, maybe more, given Australia Post's current turnaround times.
And then think about
And
the
it's
Metroid
Christmas.
Dread spoilers
Oh
that
no,
you
it'll
already
be
had,
post
right?
Christmas. Sorry. It'll
Like,
be
Yeah,
post-
who knows what kind of spoilers you
10
can
Yeah,
days
get.
or something it
yeah,
took you to
yeah.
get that.
So what are you guys going to do? Because this does happen, unfortunately, where collector's editions are super late. Like, what are
I'm
you going
buying
to
another
do?
copy, so I don't give a shit.
Oh, you've bought another copy?
I'm going to buy an actual
Okay.
single standalone copy.
I'm actually considering it as well, but I
love you
do
guys.
actually, I do really want to actually like the stuff in the collector's edition that is actually really appealing. So it's not
Yeah,
like I just
same.
don't want it to sit there like sealed on my shelf. I actually want to read look at the book and stuff. So I don't know. I'll see how it go.
I mean, like, yeah, Miyazaki, he's been on a roll, right, with these games. So, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
but
it feels like a safe
so
bet.
were City Project Red. So,
they went on a roll. They made one
Well-
game that was a AAA mega hit.
Yeah, but it was a series, as in one.
that's
and
one
then
game,
Two
that's
was
not a
amazing,
trend.
and then 3 was amazing,
No.
and then
You guys are off your rock. now.
with the original Witcher was fantastic. Witcher 2 was a masterpiece, and
Sure,
Witcher 3 was
but
just amazing.
they're not AAA mega hits. Only The Witcher 3 was a AAA mega hit.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I agree that like From is also very different. From is a much bigger legacy in terms. Honestly, like all the Armored Core series.
Yeah, they've
and
made
all
like
that
40
stuff, yeah.
games.
Yeah. So
Yeah. No,
But
it's
it is
exciting.
overpriced,
We're both
especially in
excited.
Australia, by the way, in terms of the cost. It's like it comes up to like $380 or something
Oh, the collector's edition.
for
yeah,
the collectors, yeah, which is a lot more because it's only £160.
And I want to throw to Swinny, but I do see that you don't have Metroid Dread here.
I I do have Metro Dread here. It's right on the shelf.
You idiot! I'm saying in the run sheet.
At some point I might talk about that game.
Have you played it?
I have.
I'm fanging to hear your dude. You know,
I shall share my thoughts
screw
once
the audience. I want to know.
Once I am comfortable that I have played enough of the game.
You've tasted, you've smelt the game.
What I actually want to call out today is that I've brought back the Duke Nukem cap with the.
It's not big enough for the video, I think.
Yeah, so Duke Nukem Forever, you know, that the best game of 2011.
Oh yeah, 10-year anniversary.
And it's got the bottle opener on the edge. And
that is cool.
I thought I might actually attempt to. I'm not going to drink it on air, so I'm not going to.
This should be good.
I've got a bottle of Peroni here, and it is not a twist top. So I'm going to attempt.
Okay, here we go.
I'm going to do it away a little away. I'm going to do it a little way from the mic, just so you know it doesn't like go and destroy all my audio-visual equipment.
At least it's not sweat.
Right,
go to your side.
Go to the side. We can't see. We can't see.
All right.
Go to the middle.
I
can't focus on it.
I just have to be able to hook it.
Wow, this seems so practical.
All right,
Yeah, go do it. Do it. Did it work?
No, wait. It kind of popped it. Wait.
Rotate it a bit.
Let me try it again.
Do it again.
All right, wait.
Wow,
this is a horrible.
Is as trashy as the game.
I think it's intended to take the hat off, not like stupidly.
It's unacceptable taking the hat off.
So, yeah.
All right. Last try.
Yeah.
Last try.
Give it a good one. Give it a good one.
That's it. Hold the metal bit.
Yay!
There we go. And I've got myself a little like ice bucket that's like a mug with ice in it.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Where'd the lid go? I was going to put it.
Man,
anyway, whatever.
Hey, you need the Series X mini fridge when it comes out in Australia.
Yeah, that's going to be scalped the hell.
It was already
I'll get my bots on it. I'll get my bots on it.
Now it smells like beer all around me. That's not great.
Yes, just then it smelled like beer, not before.
Yeah, lucky we're doing an audio-visual podcast, so there's no smell.
Actually, talking about like cans and bottles. I actually had a can of energy drink shotgun itself in my shopping bag this week. So I was going to take a photo before. I've actually got it here. So you can see the bottom is like broken.
Wow.
I don't know how it happened, but I live in an apartment block and I noticed as I was in the foyer, it's just like dripping everywhere in the foyer. And I'm like, oh crap. And so obviously, like, I tried to do what I could, and I went to like the building manager's office, and they weren't there. And I'm like, oh, this is so bad. It's spilled everywhere in the foyer. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I have to take my shopping up. I got frozen stuff, right?
Yeah. 5
minutes later, the fire alarm goes off. The whole building comes down through the foyer, stamped through all the energy drink that I spilled on the floor, and covered my tracks. And I'm like, oh, that was perfect. Anyway.
I have to say,
it'd be funny, but not funny if someone actually slipped and broke something.
I have to say, I'm like, I was always an asshole, like in any apartment block I ever lived in, right? I always had issues, right? And there was one time I locked my bike on like a stair rack or something, and I was walking back up, and the guy was like running the apartment block or whatever. He's just like frustrated, so he's just looking at anyone to complain to, right? And it's like, oh, look at this, some assholes lock their bike onto the stairway. And I'm like, well, I can't say it's my bike now, right? And he goes, too bad for this prick. I'm going to cut it off right now. And I was thinking, shit, like, I don't want you to cut my expensive lock, right? So he's trying to cut it. And I've got like this insane New York, forget about it lock, right? And he's trying to cut it and he can't cut it, right? He's like, oh, F this, I'm going to go get my power tools. I've got a pneumatic one to cut it. I'm like, shit, what? Like, and I was planning it out. I'm like, he's going to go off and get it. Should I try to unlock this and get it away?
Oh, I thought you were going to kill him.
No, that would have been a better solution.
All right, anyway. Video games. So actually, I've been growing my PS4 collection. So today I picked up some cheap pre-owned copies. I got myself a Last of Us remastered.
Question: You don't actually have a PS4 though. You only have a PS5, right?
Correct, but I knew for a while that the most things I'd be using it for is actually playing PS4 games.
Yeah. Perfectly
and
pleasant.
I got myself the game that everyone, still talks about, which is the Order
The
1886.
Order. That's not that bad.
I
So
have
you
heard people
talked
talk about it.
before. You talked before Integot about games like length of games. Like this is the game that's meant to be like 6 hours long or something. So
it's actually
anyway.
not that bad. I played it. It's good.
All right. What I've been playing this week. So I played a lot more of Under Hero. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I went into it last week, but I'll just say that it's cool battle system, which was like stamina management, but then like punch out style dodging. Actually got even cooler as it unlocked more of the stuff. So it actually adds a rhythm element to it as well. So if you time you don't have to, but if you time your hits to like the music in the background, you get critical hits. So it's like all this stuff combined, really, really cool battle system. But I mentioned last week that it's like a platformer RPG, and that actually extends to the bosses as well. So you have bosses where you're dodging attacks like like your Ender Lilies or Symphony Knight like style, but then you approach them when they like get tired, and you actually enter a little limited turn-based section, and then they go away and you have to dodge them again. I don't think I've ever played a game that's mixed the two like that. It's really, really cool. The last thing I'll say is that it is very much a platformer in the sense that like you're dodging spike traps, you're climbing vines, and unfortunately the controls are just wonky enough where it just doesn't feel right. So as a platformer, I don't think it's very strong, but as a game in general, I think it's really, really fun. So the next game I've been playing is, surprise, surprise, the latest Kemco RPG release.
Oh, God.
They swerved me. I thought the next one wasn't until the start of December.
What a plot twist. I did not see that coming.
And then I check and I'm like, wait, Ghost Sync came out yesterday? What the hell?
So wait, was this the one that was meant to come out in December?
I don't. Well, the thing is, right, the Kemco, I'm deep in this stuff.
The Chem community. That's what it's called. The Chem community.
I've signed up to the Kemco mailing list, by the way.
Oh, God.
I actually had to email them to get added to the list. It was really weird. I don't know why.
Surprised you didn't have to write a letter.
Anyway, it's
dear sir / madam.
It must be a Japanese process or something. But anyway, the their TGS site had this game. The next game is December, and everything got moved up a month. I'm like, God, they swerved me. But anyway,
so that means you can do your tier list earlier.
But then there's also December release.
Oh, there's going to be a December game. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Jesus
Christ.
It is amazing how quickly they crank these games out, man.
The thing is, right, this game came out like in February on mobile and came out first on Xbox this month. Hasn't come out in PlayStation or Switch yet. And I'm like, man, those Swinny dollars are getting them to release it on Xbox. They're seeing these crazy bastard buying all the DLC.
Number one client, baby. And this one looks interesting. It's about a girl and a dog.
Yes, so that dog...
And a ghost boy.
That dog is possessed by some ghost dude, and it leads to some really weird moments where, like, the girls that don't know that... There's, like, a female party member that doesn't know it's a ghost dude inside the dog. And so, like, when she goes to pat the dog, it's just, like, really inappropriate. Anyway.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, what if a romance blossoms between the guy and the girl?
I don't know. We'll see if it goes there. But anyway, this is an this is an EXE Create game. It's actually pretty fun so far. It's one of their better ones. So, yeah, I'll... when I wrap this one up, this will be my 35th Kemco RPG.
What did you say?
My 35th Kemco completion on Xbox.
I hope they send you a plaque or something, or I don't know.
Well, the dude that's on the top of the leaderboard's already completed the game, and it came out on the 4th of November. So anyway, actually, you can beat this game in a day if you really wanted to. So anyway, now the last thing I'll mention is... this thing that I'm going to show up is
yes,
the Super Mario 64 Lego block that I own. A piece has fallen off. That I built this week, and man, I tell you what, I haven't built Lego since I was like 11 years old. Like a proper Lego set myself. Like I've sat there with like nieces and nephews and mucked around, and man, Lego is just so much fun, isn't it? Like, dude, Lego doesn't have to be in the running for like the best toy ever. It's just,
that's a good question. Best
totally
toy
is the best toy ever.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And I almost like would have reviewed this thing because this is how much I love it. But then I'm like, God, if I made a segment of like a Lego review, the enthusiasts would just be so pissed off at me because I'd be so ignorant of anything to do with Lego because I haven't like they talk about casual gamers. I'm like a casual Lego builder now, so
I kind of don't want to know all the ins and outs of it.
so that's why I'm specifically actually not going to talk about what it does, even though the video kind of showing you in the B-roll. But
yeah,
this is such a love letter to Mario 64 that obviously it's a great set for anyone that just loves Lego. But if you love Mario 64, this is just like there's so many moments where it just made me smile. I just absolutely love it. So it did actually also, like as I said, like I haven't built Lego in so long, and I don't know. Like I found myself like skipping steps and like, oh yeah, I know where that part's going to be there, and then I kept screwing myself all the time. And I'm like, oh god, I missed one little piece, and I've got to go take it all. So I think I need to refine my Lego skills a bit next time I get a set. So I don't know, maybe I'll get that the NES one.
The NES one is awesome.
I've got the NES and the Lego block one on my Christmas wish list. So
yeah,
we'll see how it go.
I have a feeling you'll love Lego block one integot.
Yeah, I think like Mario 64. Sentimentally, it's right up there with Ocarina of Time. It's just like right in the sweet spot in our age profiles, you know, and they're amazing games. Like I still play Mario 64. I think we were mentioning it in the Minimic later that they've updated the 64 controller to work on Super Mario 3D All-Stars, the Mario 64 game. Yeah, that's the Bowser. It's in the side. Yeah, it looks really sick, man. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, well, that rounds out our big week in gaming. We'll move on to our news. So our first news story is that Blizzard has ongoing woes, and they continued this week after the announcement that both Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 will see delays. According to the recent earning report, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 will arrive later than originally envisaged. Comments in the report indicate both titles are likely in 2023 or beyond, and, quote, push out the financial uplift it had expected to see next year. News follows Activision Blizzard's rough last few months after a sexual harassment lawsuit filed by the California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing, which has led to a mass firings and also key Blizzard staff giving them marching orders. This week, Blizzard co-leader Jen O'Neill stepped down after 3 months in the role. The Vicarious Visions boss and Mike Ybarra will take over duties as sole Blizzard lead effective immediately. Last week, they also announced plans that BlizzCon 2022 were paused indefinitely. Blizzard. So we haven't been speaking on the show too much, but you know, it's probably a good time to, you know, bring it all together, especially with the news this week's. Maybe I'll throw it to you, Swinny, and then to you, Mike, just given I know you're a huge Diablo fan. I want to gauge your interest in Diablo 4, but Swinny, like, the question I have for you is the golden age of Blizzard over?
Well, they're definitely on. It's such a downfall at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's elements where it's, you know, likely of their own making, and a lot of it's also just, look, game development is hard, right? And we know that they probably announced stuff earlier than they probably should have in regards to some of this stuff. But something like Overwatch 2, like that's already such a weird game in regards to how they're positioning it. It's kind of almost like an Overwatch 1.5 in the sense that it'll be you'll be able to play, you know, like Overwatch 1 players will be able to play with Overwatch 2 players and stuff. And you just like, at this point, it's already a hard sell for a lot of people. And the fact that if this game doesn't release next year, you know, I think they're going to have to do some serious work to win people over for this one.
You mean 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
because next year, 2022, right? They've already said it's not going to come out then.
Well, so that's the thing. So they've said that it's delayed. It's just the fact that obviously reading between the lines around that thing that you said about their financial uplift. But there's no official confirmation on the exact timing of when these games are due for release now. So.
I think the thing though with gaming, especially like in recent time with the pandemic, games have almost keep getting pushed back. And I think even prior to the pandemic, I can't even think of a game that's been brought forward where they've said, this is going to come out in Christmas. Oh, you know what? It's already ready. So we're going to release it like 3 or 4 months early. It's kind of unheard of, right? So
Yeah, and you had Jeff Kaplan leave like 5
yeah.
months or 4 months ago or something, and even then there were a lot of red flags, about Blizzard in general, especially around everything to do with on the back of World of Warcraft. Sorry, Warcraft 3 remastered, and all the issues went there, and then Vicarious Visions got merged into them, and everyone's like, why they were just on a roll. So it's like it just seems like things are such a mess, and yeah, it's such a shame because this is one of the like golden gooses of studios, for the last 20 to 30 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, Overwatch had won Game of the Year 2016, I want to say. Put that in that context. And then from where it is now, I mean, no hype at all for Overwatch 2. Like, I think you've captured that perfectly. And then Diablo 2 Resurrected, which I think we were all really excited about, but there's just no hype. No one's talking about that game at all. And I want to throw to you, Mike, as the biggest Diablo fan among us, and like a huge Diablo fan in general. What are your thoughts on the studio and the Diablo 4 in particular?
So I like to probably say an ex-Diablo fan,
Whoa.
if that makes sense.
What do you mean?
I was huge. I was huge in Diablo. So I played Diablo. I played the demo of Diablo when I first got my hands on it to death. That and Fallout, I played it over and over and over again. And then when the game finally came out and I had a computer that could play it properly, it was amazing. I love that game to bits. And I even remember drawing characters as a kid related to the game, just sketching it out because the manual that it came with had some really cool. It had the 3 characters, really cool and stylized and stuff, and I loved just drawing that kind of stuff. But that was back then, and sort of to answer your question about is Blizzard still Blizzard in that way, and I don't think it really is the same company, and I think a company is ultimately the people that are in it, not just the product that they make, because obviously the product that gets made is made by the people that work there, and I think it's changed quite a bit, for better or worse. I'm not going to go into those details. I just definitely don't think it's the same studio. And likewise, it's like BioWare. What happened with BioWare? It's a completely different thing now. The name remains the same, but I think the people that are still there and the ideas behind it have changed, and it's not the same BioWare that we grew up on with the same kind of games that they used to make. And I think it's the same with Blizzard. So, am I looking forward to Diablo 4? Absolutely. I'm looking forward to playing the experience. I'm absolutely not looking forward to getting into the grind and the multiplayer, which is why I don't play Overwatch either. But I absolutely think it's a game that would be fantastic to play. I do look forward to seeing what the next installment brings. I just don't think Blizzard has the same. I don't even know how to put it. They've tarnished their name too much in some ways recently, that I don't think it has the same pull and the same hype of a company that they used to have, where I'm not saying they could do no wrong, but you knew that their next game would probably be fantastic. It doesn't really exist anymore, and I think it's the same issue as BioWare, same as a bunch of those other companies. They just don't have that anymore.
Because is this correct in saying this, Swinny? Overwatch would have been their last AAA release. That's 2016.
Now,
like they've had, Diablo 2 Resurrected. They've had heaps of updates with World of Warcraft. They've really upset the community. But I'm just thinking, like, out of the AAA, I'm talking about Diablo 3 level, Overwatch, these kind of games. I think that's the last one that they've actually released.
I think so, because, like, as you said, like, tentpole releases, Warcraft 3 Remastered wouldn't fit that bill. I think so. Yeah, it seems like it was Overwatch. Obviously, they've been hard at work on a lot of stuff, and we know that Diablo 4 has been development for a while. But yeah, no, I believe so. I'm just checking. But
yeah, I mean, just like I guess where I'm getting at is it's interesting that game was so well received. So many people still love Overwatch. Game of the Year in that year, which is probably a bit crazy to be honest. That's Game of the Year, but like they haven't even had an opportunity. But I think we're all totally in agreement, and I totally agree with your point, Mike. So I'm not going to rehash it. The whole BioWare analogy is perfect. I think the magic is out of that studio when you look at the key folk who have left, and it's kind of been ripped apart by the the sexual harassment lawsuit that's happening, that's not going to be resolved for like 2 to 3 years potentially. Like, and that's just rips the culture apart.
It totally rips the culture apart. Yeah.
I'm just looking at it now. So so Overwatch was mid 2016, and it's pretty much up until it's pretty much Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4. What's the next big releases now? In saying that, I know Hearthstone is a big game, but in terms of, I guess, things that are kind of along the lines of like Overwatch and Diablo 3 was 2012 before that.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's definitely a lot of gaps in the timeline, but when you think about it, if Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are 2023 games, then that's a gap of like 7 years. That's crazy.
That's a massive gap.
That's crazy.
But you know what else I think it maybe comes down to? I keep thinking of this idea. Oh, actually, it reminded me of when Aaron Schwartz merged with the other two guys that started off Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
And he hated, I remember when I was reading the book, gosh, I forget the name of the book. I have a copy. It's quite good. That he hated, even on his first day, apparently he just hated working in that corporate environment. It was supposed to sort of be the same, but it wasn't. It became a bit of a corporate environment. And I remember on his first day, I think, if I remember correctly, he actually went and cried in the toilet. He just couldn't deal with that change of how it was. And I think there is an element potentially that game studios have become quite corporate. And I wonder if when Activision took Blizzard over, there was an element of that change in the way things worked internally and the way you developed games. Because Blizzard, was one of those companies where, kind of like BioWare, would originally started as a small studio where it was almost like building games in a garage, I think. It was a completely different feel and a completely different interest in you building the games, whereas it's now become a giant juggernaut run by Activision, who really are all about profit and appeasing shareholders at the end of the day, that I think it's lost its, I don't know, it's not its charm. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's lost something that it used to have when it was more real.
I definitely think the influence of Activision has been a massive impact on Blizzard over the years. They did operate quite independently, but something tells me that if the general industry sentiment and I guess community sentiment around Blizzard doesn't improve in the next like 2 to 3 years, it wouldn't surprise me if it basically just becomes Activision. They become Activision properties, just because if the Blizzard name just falls further and further and further, at what point does that become more a detriment than a benefit? Not saying that will happen. I'm just saying, like, I think that things have to improve. Otherwise, who knows?
Yeah, interesting point. All right, well, I think we honestly have to wait until the lawsuit's settled or like whatever's earlier, or one of these major games comes out, and see how it's received, really. Cool. Let's get on to the next segment. The future of Smash Brothers. In a recent interview with Famitsu, Smash Brothers director Masahiro Sakurai-san, that's not what you meant to say, spoke about the future of the series and if it could continue without him. And anyone who's watching the YouTube clip, as soon as we start talking about Smash Brothers, Mike just goes, "See ya."
Whoop! He's out there. He's out there.
So the Famitsu issue marks the end of Sakurai's bi-monthly column in the magazine after 20 straight years. He spoke about the next Smash Brothers and if he'd be involved. So here's a couple of quotes that we want to reel off. I'm not thinking about a sequel, and obviously these are all translated, I should say. And then I think I've lost Swinny as well. However, I can't say with certainty that this will be the end of Smash. Interesting. I need to think about whether I must release a Smash game or not, even if I have to do something that would disappoint users. And another quote, I currently don't see a path where Smash can be produced without myself. Honestly, we did actually try leaving it to someone else, but it didn't go well. Another quote, if the series were to continue, I have to talk with Nintendo and have a debate on whether it will succeed or not. I must think about this topic seriously, end quote. He also said he wanted to conceal himself for a while. Conceal himself? Is that right? Conceal himself?
That's remember, like a lot of this stuff has been translated from Japanese. So
And not able to say anything he's working on next. He said he may be better if people forget about him. So yeah, like we should, number one, ground the context that, you know, it is a translation, and we've been following this stuff forever before the podcast, right? We're nerds on this kind of stuff, and there does seem to be a lot of issues, especially with Japanese and English. Partly, I think also, Swinny, the culture is quite different, and just like how people refer to themselves, it's like a specific tone. It's like you can never really big note yourself in Japanese, but like, so it's interesting. Even some of the things he says, I'm like, that doesn't sound Japanese, like what he's saying. Like, especially the bit where he goes, you know, I can't see the game going ahead without me. And it's like, I wonder if he said it like that, or if he actually said it in a different way that's been translated in a bit of a funny way. But, you know, Swinny, like, handing over to you, like, what do you think about this interview? What were some of the biggest things that stood out to you?
So, look, none of this is surprising to hear. Although I don't think we had known that they'd attempted to hand it over to someone before.
That was juicy, yeah.
Yeah, like if that's been said before, then I'm happy to be corrected. But it is very much Sakurai in terms of, look, especially that last thing about, you know, like he may be better if people forget about him. Like he's not. I honestly think he is honest about not wanting to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
As much as obviously he's the face of Smash and he does the presentations, even that has come out, you know, as part of his this column about, you know, why they're doing those presentations. It's simply because, you know, like it's just a better way to, I guess, present the information. And I think the Joker trailer, that they spent a lot of money on some of that stuff, and they decided to just do presentations to really get that information across. But in terms of, I guess, yeah, like the whole thing about, I have to talk with Nintendo and have a debate on whether it will succeed or not. And it's like, what does that really mean? Like, succeed financially, succeed in terms of people being happy? It's such a kind of like an ambiguous sentence.
Well, can I jump in on that? Because I think, to me, out of all of these things, that was the most interesting to me. I mean, we should ground the context that, you know, Sakurai has been doing Smash since 99 was the original Smash on the 64. Is that right? Ballpark? Ballpark, let's say 98, 99.
Ballpark.
And so he's shepherded the series since then. And almost after every single one, so starting from Melee, so the second one, he's always said in written articles, interviews, after he's finished, this is the last one I'm going to do. He's literally said that each time, right? Including Smash 4. He's like, oh, this is the last one I'll do. And he went straight into making Smash Ultimate. So when he's talking about, you know, someone else do it, should I do it? I don't want to do it. I feel like it's his life's work. So he probably does want to do it, or he feels obligated to. But that's the part that he talks about, the success or not, is super interesting to me. And, you know, I said it a few weeks ago, or even last week, Swinny, that, you know, it'd be cool in the off season when there's not much gaming news to just like spend like half an hour really trying to go like, what can you do? How can you make a Smash follow-up when you've gone and done all these negotiations with people to bring characters back in the game that I think is, like, honestly, I think it's a 1% chance they could make a Smash game that has all of these current characters and then more characters. I honestly think it's a 1% chance. I pretty much eliminate it. It's not going to happen, right?
Also, for a bit of context, just wanted to say, we talk about obligation, Sakurai, like, for anyone who doesn't know, Sakurai does not work for Nintendo.
Yeah.
So it's not like he is told by them, well, you work for us, you have to make Smash. Like, he does have the choice to actually take on that project or not.
Yeah,
I just wanted to get that out there. Sorry.
No, that's true. And yeah, I use obligation more in the cultural kind of reference to obligation, which is much more prevalent in Japanese culture than it is. Like in the West, no one feels obligated to do anything. You know, they could lead something and then just give it up.
I have a roof above my head, but yeah.
No, but that's a requirement, right? Like, but I mean, like, you know,
I know what you mean.
Feeling, so I think that's super interesting to me, this whole, will it be successful or not? Because I look at it as like, they will need to fundamentally change this game, because if all they do is make another version and have like 60 fighters, I feel like inevitably people will go, oh, like this is just a worse version of Ultimate, right? I'm really adamant that what they would need to do is, the DLC characters, they put so much love into each of those characters. I feel like they almost need to start the roster again from Mario and like redo that character, and then, Donkey Kong, and progressively go through it. And that's the only way they could do it. And then have a game where it's more like 24 fighters. But, I know that people are going to go crazy about that if they do that. But I feel like that's the only pathway forward in my view.
Mm. And also, I mean, Sakurai a few months ago was talking about, and he's discussed it before, but like actual possible retirement from game development, because it's not just Smash that he's worked on over the years. He worked on Kirby, he worked on Kid Icarus on the 3DS. Like he's been game developer for a long time. And although he doesn't look it, like at some point we all get closer to a retirement age. And especially with someone that seems like it's got a diehard work ethic like him.
Dude needs a break.
Yeah, definitely. So
look, as the most diehard Smash fan and probably the most experienced out of all three of us. By the way, that's a joke, everyone. I played by far the least. In fact, I don't really play it at all. But I would imagine it seems like such a polished game, and it's now had so many characters added to it, and it's so refined as a game that the only way I would personally see a path forward is if you wait quite a period of time till you release something new, when either you people don't really play it on the platform, or there's 2 more generations of new platforms that have come out where it makes sense to do a new game. Whereas right now on the current generation stuff, I just don't see why you would. It's such a perfect game in many ways, if you could put it that way, that it doesn't make sense to have a follow-up to it.
Yeah, look, honestly, it also really depends on Nintendo's hardware strategy in the future, because I could definitely see a 4K version of Smash being a good selling point. But then again, it's like, where do you go from a smorgasbord like this?
Yeah, but they could just upscale the current edition to that.
I don't think they would care about the 4K element to it in terms of, we're not going to cover it as a story, but a part of the Nintendo financials was that they were already, planning the new hardware. And 100% there'll be a Smash on the new hardware. It's like Mario Kart. It's like a Mario game. It's like a Zelda game. Like they sell so many copies, and like Animal Crossing now as well. They sell so many copies. They'll do 1 per generation. There's no chance in my mind they'll make another Smash game. But, I think even inevitably it's going to be compared. And if the next console that Nintendo makes is a Wii U situation, or even a Wii original situation where you could play the previous generation, I feel like they're still going to have the comparison, which is like, well, Smash Ultimate is playable on the next, whatever it's going to be called, Nintendo console, and it's better than this new one that's coming out. I mean, the one thing I will say, Mike, and it's like, I know it's not like a casual gamers, I don't care at all, but I feel like from a community and support and just, hype, if they actually cared about like the net code and all this other kind of stuff, and put rollback and all, like they really paid attention to that stuff in the next Smash Brothers, I feel like they would just get so much love from the community, and it would build its own hype, even if it was a much reduced roster. Like that's what I would do strategically if I was inside of Nintendo.
Yeah, it's like they simultaneously made what I think is the best Smash game, but also kind of shot themselves in the foot by the whole everyone is here, because each Smash game before, like each sequel before they accept Melee, I think, kind of also kind of removed characters. So it's like you had a pattern there, and then suddenly everyone is here. So anything that comes next will just be like immediately, well, they included everyone last time, So it's such a tough, like I wouldn't want to be in the position of the person to kind of make the decision about what the plan is for the next match. Like that would be such a hard task ahead of you.
Absolutely. Plus, you know what else is hard? Trying to compete against bloody Cat Dog in the Nickelodeon game. they've set the new bar really, really high. So
wait till the WB game comes out when you're fighting Batman versus Rick and Morty. But last thing I wanted to mention, Swinny, and then I'll throw to you for closing thoughts or comments or whatever, was, just on that, comparing the rosters. Like I feel like it's pretty much certain to me, at least, Sora will not be in the next game, right? Like it was so hard to get Sora. The backstory is literally someone at Nintendo was in the same elevator as someone from Disney, and they were chatting about like the gaming industry and things like that, and that's how they got that connection. Like it's mind-boggling, like that it was almost like a luck that they got it on board, and there were so many guidelines and regulations. They couldn't show like Goofy or Donald Duck or all these kind of things. It was like very strict about what they could show and not show. I just feel like I couldn't imagine a world where Disney would say, yeah, Sora can be in the next game as well, and then maybe not even Banjo, you know. So they're the top two most popular fan voted sort of characters. So yeah, it's I think you're right, man. I think they've almost created a Pokemon dynamic with it, where people are like, well, the Pokedex, the National Dex, you know, you can bring every, you know, any of my Pokemon through, every Pokemon's available. And then obviously with Sword and Shield, they said they're not doing that, and people went apeshit about it. And it's still sold really well. So and I think that's the thing, right, Swinny? The game's going to sell insane on the next console when they release it. It's not going to be a bad seller, but I think it's more, yeah, how did they actually top it? But did you want to add anything else to this, Swinny?
Look, there's a whole bunch of cool little insights that we'll listen to description. I'll call a couple out that was part of this column. Now, Sakurai's been writing this bi-monthly column for Famitsu for like 20 years or something, and this apparently was the last month. He was actually on the cover, so that's pretty cool. But some of the other cool stuff that came out, so yeah, you mentioned Banjo-Kazooie was actually followed Sora in the Smash ballot popularity, which is kind of crazy to me. Like I would have actually expected, or maybe, you know, I'm just trying to think the timeline of that stuff. It just seems Banjo was well wanted, but it's like, but anyway, it is what it is. They mentioned a lot about the issues, the technical things they had to consider with both adding Joker in because of the multiple animations, and also Pyra and Mithra because there's two characters that swap back and forth. And they almost like were going through these different, he was considering these different options. And if they couldn't get Pyra and Mithra, that are dual characters and switch between each other, you know, he probably would have gone with Pyra instead, which is pretty funny to me. But, and like talking a lot about those technical development things. So it's really, really cool. But one of the coolest things from my favorite thing out of these talking points is when he talks about balancing the fighters, because that is one of the, like, there's so many characters in this game, and the types, they're all wildly different, probably wildly different that aren't clones of Marth. And basically he talked about when balancing fighters that he preferred to not to eliminate the strong points, to like debuff character, well, to not like get rid of what makes them cool and strong, but to add other weaknesses to balance them out.
That's cool.
So, and I think that is just a really, really cool thing to hear, because that's stuff you just didn't hear about, you know, in the past. And it's great that he felt comfortable to actually talk a bit more about that now. So I'll list the rest of them in the description, which there's a lot of cool stuff. So
which on that, it's actually like what true FGC people always say, like buff the character, don't nerf them. You know,
yeah.
So, and it's funny he said that. I'm not sure if he did that every time. Like he totally nerfed Pichu because that character was ridiculous in the version 1.0. But yeah, no, really looking forward. Obviously, we'll jump on the next Smash Brothers when it comes out, but we're playing Ultimate and mastering every character right now. So we'll be there for 100 years. All right, we'll go to our final news segment. And a bit of a random one, boys, but a trailer has dropped. A very popular trailer. But it's that 8-bit Christmas. So this trailer dropped out of nowhere about an upcoming holiday comedy called 8-bit Christmas, a story about an 80s kid quest to score an NES for Christmas. So the plot focuses on a 10-year-old boy who wants to get a NES for Christmas. It was sort of like 1988-ish, late 80s, starring Neil Patrick Harris, who plays the boy, all grown up, telling the story to his daughter. So it's coming out via HBO Max on the 24th of November, directed by Michael Dowse and written by Kevin Jakubowski. Kind of like destroyed that name.
Yeah, I'm probably going to offend someone. That kind of sounds like a Star Wars name to me, but I know it's Polish name. So
yeah.
I know it's
Polish. I know that the W's a V, but I'm not sure about the first bit. I think it's Jakubowski. Anyway. I don't know why, man. Like this movie is going to be terrible, but I'm kind of pumped about this movie.
It looks alright. It looks like the direction looks pretty good. Some of the humor looked pretty good.
I just saw the trailer and I'm like, wait a second. Like it's an actual NES. There's something about that I'm thinking, well, like Nintendo has approved this. This is kind of weird. This is a change in Nintendo's stance on these kind of things.
It's funny to me because then you look at like they've got an example of video game and like in the trailer someone drops kicks the CRT TV or something, and it's definitely a game that is well above the technical limitations of the NES. It's like some Street Fighter style game.
Oh, was
and
it?
I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, man, this game, I just once I want a movie to actually like do 2 seconds of research into that stuff. It's so easy, so easy to make a fake game look like an NES game. Anyway, this trailer, honestly, comedy movies obviously, like they often try to put like the funniest moments in the trailers. I don't know, it felt a bit flat for me. I'm still no, just in terms of like I was expecting the trailer to be a bit more interesting. I don't know if it's obviously not targeted specifically at me, it's targeted at kids, but it's like, I don't know, I'll still probably give it a shot because hey, it's a story that speaks to our childhoods. And yeah, but I try to normally when we've talked about movies in the past, I like put in brackets like, oh, directed by this person for this movie and written by this, and I just couldn't find anything that I wanted to put in to shout out that these people have made, honestly. So I'm like, I don't know. I think it's on HBO Max, so it's not in the cinemas in America. Who knows here? But
I don't even know how we watch it in Australia. Hopefully it's on Amazon Prime.
I like Neil Patrick Harris. I like him. I think he'll probably do well in it. I hope it's great.
I think you've analyzed it correctly though, that the actor means nothing, like zero, right? It's all the writer and director. And if they've got a good history as combo together, sweet. But the actors, who cares almost, right? And I do like him as well. I don't think he's bad, but yeah, it's funny looking at what these guys have written. Like, look, the movie's going to be terrible. It's got to be, right? Because the trailer only came out and it's coming out in 2 weeks. That's not a good sign. That's a terrible, terrible sign. It's going straight to streaming. I mean, this is like one of those things where you go into Target or something and you see a movie and you're like, whoa, I never even heard of this movie. And it's because it's terrible.
Well, it kind of, in 2021, it probably makes sense, especially around that season and what's happening with the pandemic. Releasing stuff at cinemas, I don't know if it's worth it anymore.
No, the cinemas are pumping again, dude.
In fairness,
not to the extent that it needs to be profitable, I reckon. In
fairness, the closest approximation to this movie is The Wizard, right?
Yeah, but this is what I wanted to bring up. Is this the first time that the NES has been featured in a movie since The Wizard?
Maybe.
I reckon it might be.
I think for a lot of people, obviously there's nostalgia there. The Wizard wasn't a very good film either.
No.
It had funny moments, but everyone just liked it because it showed off Mario 3, right?
Hey, it was very accurate. They used the Power Glove to play Mario 3. Yeah. Come on.
And I like that they've got a kid with the Power Glove in this that's like the king of the town because he's got an NES. I like that kind of stuff. But it's probably going to end up being a better film, but just probably less memorable than The Wizard because The Wizard just had that Mario 3 thing, So
now, like the last thing, because you know how I've got this probably infamous tier list that I'm thinking about pulling together, watching every single shitty video game movie adaptation. I feel like this doesn't count. This is
no.
This is almost like a bonus. Like you put in The Wizard and you put in this now, I think.
Yeah. It's a bonus. It doesn't count. The issue I have with a lot of these films, and I don't want to. God, I hope this doesn't sound like I'm a movie snob or something, because I'm not. But for example, I read a while ago. I read a book called Save the Cat, which is all about screenwriting, and that's the name of the book. It's called Save the Cat.
No. I was just waiting. I was actually expecting you to go off on a tangent. And you're like, it's about screenwriting.
It's about screenwriting. I'm
actually surprised.
And even before that, it's just this kind of reaffirms it. You understand the formula, and you understand the formula that a hell of a lot of films use, to the extent that you're watching the film and you start to predict exactly when a particular thing's going to happen. You know when the low point is, when the high point is, how it's going to conclude. And it almost makes it, I wouldn't say pointless watching it, but the journey becomes almost irrelevant because you know exactly where it's going. So what makes it then watchable is the content and the writing of the bits in between. And I think the problem is a hell of a lot of films have really shit bits in between that are not funny, or they're really badly written. So it ends up having nothing. There's no suspense. There's nothing in it at the end. And I hope it's not the case with this one. but I feel like it's just going to be super formulaic with a bunch of gags that will probably fall flat. But we'll see.
I look forward to your art house analysis of
Sure.
8-Bit Christmas when it comes out.
I'll review
mate.
it like that. Hey, I'm not a movie snob. The formula is just so bloody apparent in so many films. It's ridiculous.
Mike, if you're up for it, we can sync it up so we could stream it. So obviously
you want to watch it at the same.
We can't show the images and stuff like that, but we can stream our reaction to watching it.
Okay.
Would you be up for that?
Yeah.
It's gonna get the views, that one.
Yeah, what are we gonna show?
No, just like I don't know.
Two idiots talking.
We'll figure out what we can show.
I mean, channels do that. I'm just thinking, anyway.
I just don't know what would show. Yeah,
no.
We could show something.
Something
Or
else.
just blur the hell out of it.
Videos of my cat.
No, I could just blur it all out. So
Blur it, yeah. Inverse the pixels.
Well, that's the news this week. And wrapping up the news, we'll be bringing up our very special segment, which is called the Minute Mike. It's where Mike will cover all the other news of the week in 1 minute. The conditions are that we can only include up to 100, at most 180 words. Swinny, can I confirm?
180 words on the dot once again.
I don't know how you do it.
And just so people understand,
It's called Microsoft the word counts. That's what it's...
Word.
just so people know, the average speaking speed is about, 110, 120 at most. So 180 is a fair clip. As we normally do, I will bring up the counter once Mike starts. So it's over to you, Mike, to start when you feel like you're comfortable to start.
All right. So, kicking off with the Nintendo News Roundup, they will apparently improve and expand their Switch Online service. Switch is on track to becoming the best-selling Nintendo console ever, but they will make 20% fewer of them this financial year due to chip shortages. Oh my god, that's a mouthful. They will spend $880 million US dollars to expand the internal game development and $400 million USD to grow non-gaming entertainment ventures. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has become the best-selling game in the series. Mario 3D All-Stars has been patched to support the new Switch N64 controller, and a standalone Seth Rogen Donkey Kong movie is reportedly in development. Seth Rogen, oh my god. Another news, Take-Two has cancelled Marvel Studio Hangar 13's unannounced project. Niantic is shutting down Harry Potter Wizards Unite AR game. Square Enix has removed paid boosters from Marvel's Adventures after massive outcry. The PS5 has been updated to fix systems being bricked when CMOS battery dies. A new range of Luigi's Mansions Lego sets have been announced. And finally, a US man faces charges for using a COVID loan to buy a rare Pokemon card.
You don't need to use the full minute, but well done.
Well done.
Well done.
I know you didn't
screw it up so many times. Oh my god.
I know you didn't say it, but it made me laugh when you said Niantic, and I'm like thinking like Nyancat, or whatever. Like, Niantic.
Have it flying across the screen.
I know this would be a shitload of effort, Swinny, but it would be really funny if you did like tongue twisters in one episode. Where you just tried to make it so.
I mean, I've done that. I've done alliteration once that was kind of like meant to be like that, and I've thrown in a couple of French names here and there. But Seth Rogen, I don't think that's a French name.
No, Seth Rogen.
What did you say? What did you say his name was?
I don't know. What the hell did I call him?
Rogen.
Rogaine.
Rogan. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well done, Mike.
All right, let's get into the special features. So this week, Mike and I played through Unpacking. So we had our hands full this week as we delved into the chill unpacking simulator, Unpacking. So this dropped on Xbox Game Pass. So I played it on PC. Where did you play it, Mike?
Xbox Game Pass as well, but it is available on PC as well. And I do believe it's also out on Switch.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's on other things as well. Like I didn't
on
really,
other things, but
really
look, it's mainly
say
Xbox. And I don't think it's on PlayStation, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, it's not.
It's in our run sheet.
Yeah,
yeah, there we go.
It is in our run sheet.
No, so you played
PC,
on the Series X,
but I played. So I played it on both. No, I actually played it on Xbox One, and I played it on PC as well. I played it on both because I wanted to see what it's like with the mouse. So I played it through the whole thing with the mouse, and then I wanted to see what it's like with a controller to see if I've missed anything through the game. So I played it with the game being synced between the two, of course, but I started a new game on Xbox, so I played it on both.
Well, I'm confused now. I thought you had a Series X.
I do, but I have an Xbox One X in my bedroom where I played it.
So, Integot, when we'll get to Forza in a moment. That's why I'm like clarifying, Mike. Did you play Forza on Series X?
That
or
one I
Xbox?
played on Series X.
No, but
Oh, okay,
that's
yeah,
why
yeah.
I asked, because I knew he had both set up.
No,
so
I
that's
played this
Okay.
on. I mean, look, this isn't a game that needs
No.
the full power of the Series X. To be honest, I think it ran perfectly fine, even on any PC that you throw at it, probably. But yeah, it is across multiple platforms. I am actually, to be honest, extremely tempted, and I think I will buy it on Switch and pay full price. I'm not going to wait till it goes on special, purely because, and I think it's really important to note this, it's by an Australian developer called Witchbeam, based in Brisbane. So I think it's worth, paying these guys out to keep making cool stuff like this, basically.
Pay him out. That's right.
I feel bad that I played it for free. That's how good the game is
Well,
to me.
that-
I really enjoyed it, and we'll talk about it in more detail, but I feel like now I need to go out and actually give them some of my hard-earned cash properly,
Well,
not through
that's
some
very
Xbox
nice of
Live
you,
thing.
Mike. I think Microsoft's done a good trick on the whole world when people call Game Pass free. Right?
Well, it's
they
not. Okay,
will
it's not
get paid for that, so they will
it's
get
not
money.
free. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will get money, but I mean, Game Pass $50 per year, basically the way I got it. So, I feel like these guys deserve more money
Totally
so
agree.
they can
And
keep making cool games.
we're huge supporters of the Aussie gaming industry, and it's very exciting to see that this game, when it released on Steam, it went to number 3 on the Steam chart, like best selling. That is incredible when you think about how many people buy games on Steam. So a huge success. Maybe like of the order of something even like an Untitled Goose Game, which is pretty incredible when you think about Australian dev recently. And it's probably exactly what you want to do, right? Not try to aim for a AAA type game, find a niche that you can really execute perfectly. And, just jumping into the review, like I thought this game, for what it's trying to do, is perfect. Like it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Wow. Sorry, you can make the dude dab. I just noticed that in the trailer. Anyway, sorry.
You just Swinny's watching the B-roll.
Yeah.
Because you haven't played this at all, right, Swinny?
Yes, I have. I've played this.
Oh, okay. Have you finished it?
I was just letting you assume that I hadn't played it and just roll with it.
I was going to ask after the mic went through. Have you finished it, Swinny?
No. Well, I'll talk a bit about it when you finish. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off badly in that. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's very zen. It's just very chilled. And it's just one of those games where, it's very accessible, right? I even had my son who's 4. He was playing it. Like, he was literally like clicking the box, dragging it to stuff. Like, you could actually like cognitively recognize, okay, this has to go there and that has to go there. I was like, this is so cool.
Does he keep his own room clean?
Yeah, no, he's pretty good with that stuff.
Okay, I was going to say, because you could like almost like use this to train your kids to like put stuff away.
And it's very like OCD inducing. So I'll throw to Mike first, and then we'll go round out with Swinny on the OCD element of it. Mike,
the OCD element, by the way, for those that are watching, I've got Spludge, my cat here. He decided to open the door and come into my room, so a very slight distraction. I think, I don't want to be one of those people that self-diagnoses, but I have a feeling I do have OCD. I do like my things in a neat, orderly fashion. And this game is perfect for people that do have OCD, that need to put everything right, put them in the right order, etc. The interesting thing, though, is I was doing that at the start. I was putting things neatly. I was making sure the underwear is actually, because you can rotate objects. I was making sure the underwear is rotated the correct way. So all of the underwear is in exactly the right way, and there's some sort of a color gradient happening, that kind of jazz. But I found after sort of halfway through the game, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to shove them in there, whatever, they'll do the trick.
it's like real life.
Just like real life, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what happens in real life. I have my underwear perfectly neat and my t-shirts just folded in this awesome Japanese way of doing it. You like do it in 2 seconds, and
But that only works
after
on
a while,
a G-string though.
well, I do have a few of those, so yes. Anyway, so it's definitely fantastic.
The cat goes right.
It's definitely fantastic from an OCD perspective.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's true. I feel like it's like an alcoholic, and this game really encourages drinking.
No, but
it's
fantastic
very for an
very
alcoholic.
No, it's just it's kind of like that actually, but I think in a good way. It's therapeutic. I found it, as you said, it's very zen-like. It's very therapeutic. The music is quite cool. It's 8-bitty sort of music. Well, I think it was probably more like 16-bit kind of music, but and perfect for the feel of it, especially because you start off in the 90s and you sort of progress through the eras. And that music just also helps with the chillness of the game, and you're just sitting there opening a box, putting something there, opening a box, putting something up there. And the gameplay loop just feels really, really good. I don't know, do you want to no spoilers, of course, but do you want to quickly talk about the story element?
Well, probably not, right? Because I don't want to spoil it for
No, no,
people.
without spoiling it. So the only thing I'd say, because again, I don't want to
I'm like,
spoil
nah, no, and then he
anything about.
proceeds
No.
to.
I think it's worth noting the fact that the game doesn't tell a story in a conventional way, and I think this is really cool about it. So there's no cutscenes, there's nothing like that. The only way you understand the story is through the world that you're presented with, as well as the objects that you're unpacking and what you do with them and where you put them, etc. And I don't want to say anything else because it's worth going through the story to understand the progression of that person's life. And it's actually quite cool because I think it does also make you think about your own life to a large extent. It sounds maybe weird. Oh, this is so deep, but it kind of is. It really does make you think about what is it like when you go from being a kid. Do you still have the toys that you've kept since then? You know, it's stuff like that. That's what were you going to say, Swinny?
I was just gonna say, yeah, exactly that. It's like you suddenly, when you realize, okay, the next stage is further along in that person's life, then I'm like, wait, I've still got stuff that I've had since I was a kid, and it's very self-reflective in that way. It's like it kind of makes you stop and think that while I know, the whole possessions versus, minimalism and stuff, but it's like there are possessions we have that are so emotionally linked to our life that we carry them with us. So it's really interesting to see, like, it's such a unique, as you said, way to tell a story.
And
I'm sure it's further in that, but anyway. So
just to add to that, Swinny, because there's one moment in the game. I don't know actually if you got up to it, depending on how much you played. I'll throw it back to you in a second, but where, and I won't ruin the story or anything, but it's effectively there's an item that there's just no room to put it anywhere.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And it's
about.
like,
yeah, I don't want to say what it is, but there is. It's fantastic. I love that bit.
And you're playing it, and it's like, it actually got me, man. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like I understand that feeling myself of like because out of the three of us, I've probably maybe moved the most. I don't know, maybe you're about the equal to me, Mike, but we've both moved a lot. So you go through these different phases when you move to places. You're like, oh, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to go cleaner or minimalist. And the game explores that as well. But just that feeling of like something that, you may be really proud of. It's almost like you're packing it away. And what does that mean? And what does that say about your psychology and everything? So there's some really cool moments in the game like that. Really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, I want to see. So you played it a little bit, Swinny. You didn't have enough time, thoughts, or what happened?
So, unfortunately, this week I spent I didn't talk about it earlier, but I spent a lot of time watching Let's Plays of Dark Souls. And I spent way longer watching that stuff than playing games, but I did get through the first couple of levels in Unpacking. So I definitely didn't kind of get too far along with that. But one part that I really loved, it's such a unique game, but just when you first start opening boxes and they give you multiple rooms and you're like, wait, why is there this is a box with the kitchen stuff? Why is there a keyboard in here? And then you're like, wait, but that's what happens when you move stuff.
Yeah.
It's like randomly something doesn't fit, and then you're like, well, where is that thing? And it's just, even that tiny thing is just such a cool little moment. I really, really had a lot of fun with it, but I also think the time I was playing it, like when I got to like a level, I'm like, okay, now you've got like 5 rooms or something. And I'm like, I just felt like it wasn't the right kind of game to play at that moment, because I'm just like, I think you have to, not to say for everyone, but for me, I'm like, I think I have to probably be in a bit of a different mindset to go further than that at the time. Just because at that point it's like, well, now it's actually a very substantial task. It's not like just 3 rooms, like there's lots of boxes, and then it's like, okay. But I think it's such a great little game, honestly. I think it's such a cool experience so far. So
yeah, I totally agree. And just on the story, you don't know this conversation that Mike and I had, Sweeney, but I gave Mike a call maybe like 10 minutes into playing the game, and I'm like, damn, I Dude, I know exactly what's gonna happen in this game. I laid it all out. I'm like, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna do this, and then that's gonna happen. And I was like, man, I'm bloody smart, right? And then I played through the game.
I
And I'm
didn't
like,
say anything.
whoops, I was wrong. Now, like, there's some twists in it that like I kind of was expecting, but maybe I was even more extreme than the twists that they had in the game. But no, really cool. I wanted to shout out just the last couple of things from me, just from an accessibility perspective. Like, I'm always a big fan of when games go pretty deep on accessibility, especially when you're just bringing people in. It's not ruining the game or anything like that. So they have some really cool options. Like, you know, they're very mindful of, you know, a lot of video games will have cues, like audio cues or visual cues. So they're like, they've been really thoughtful about how that interaction works, so that if you can't hear, it's like you will not miss out on something in the game, or vice versa. And then also they've got settings in the game, which, you know, once you complete a room, the game assesses it and says, oh, well, no, you've got the toaster in the bath. That doesn't work, right? You can actually switch all that off. You can actually just say place things anywhere you want, right? So you can get through the story and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to give them a shout out with that. The one thing, and you know, like I think the devs are really cool. I actually reached out to Ren Breyer, who's one of the devs on the game, and she wrote back to us. And this is a weird thing to say, but how do I say this without spoiling any of the story? But essentially, there's an element of the game, and especially being a dad now, that, you know, the game explores. And I'm like, oh, I don't think that's a really safe thing for the game to allow you to do, right? So I wrote
the toaster in the bathtub.
no, not yeah, it's similar to that, but it's about, you know, my newfound gamer dad perspective. So I reached out to her, and she actually wrote back, like, it seemed like they really did think about it. You know, like, should they do that or not, and why, and all this other kind of stuff. I still don't agree with where they landed on it. And I spoke to some other parents about it, actually. I'm like, am I crazy about this? And they go, no, I totally understand what you're saying, right?
I want to know what this is now. I might have to.
Yeah, we'll talk offline, because I don't want to spoil it for people.
Nah,
but
yeah.
I just want to give a shout out. Like, how cool are these people, right? Like, they've got a game that's like blowing up, and they're like responding to the smallest podcast in the universe.
There's just one last thing I wanted to mention, and it's kind of linked to accessibility as well, is that I think this would be a fantastic game for people that are neurodivergent, that have like that really I guess appreciate routine and have, you know, compulsive behavior we mentioned before, just because the nature of picking stuff up and putting it away. Like I have family members that work in that field, and that is very much something I think that, you know, I'm actually going to tell them and say, hey, if they are, you know, they like video games, there's this game that has a lot of accessibility options, but has that routine, has that feeling of, okay, I'm putting stuff somewhere. So I think it's potentially a really great game for people like that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, a huge recommendation from all of us, I think.
Really big, yeah.
Very
It's
short
really cool.
experience, so it's not, you know, something
yeah.
scary in terms of jumping in. And I think it's, you know, obviously a studio will be looking out for. It'd be interesting even if they tried to do DLC for the game as well.
Well, I was actually thinking, because to me, one of the only real disappointing thing about the game, honestly, is it felt short.
But
I'm with you. I don't want
the
things to keep
yeah.
dragging on. But for this, I actually genuinely felt
You
I
just
just
want more.
wanted more.
Yeah,
I
you
wanted
want
more. I wanted more things. I wanted more of the story. I wanted to, you know, kind of. I'm not, again. I don't want to say where the story ends or anything like that. It's not like there's a big plot twist, but I'm like, I want to see more and more and more. and I think I can see how they could expand it to actually go through the entire life of that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could totally see it. And I'm hoping that they do, because that's probably my only real gripe with the game. It felt a little short, and that also maybe goes to extends to the fact that there's these stickers you can collect. And look, we've spoiled the entire toaster in the bathtub thing, but basically, if you do certain things with certain objects, you get stickers that come up. And the one that we've just spoiled is if you take the toaster in any of the games where there's a toaster available, it's a bathtub, you put it in there.
It was in the footage that was showing before.
Yeah, it was in the footage as well, so it's not spoiling too much. But they're kind of achievements within the game itself. So I 100% at the game, and honestly, what felt like 2 hours or something. It felt extremely short
quick.
in that sense, and I was just craving more for once. Normally, I'm like, oh my god, this game is dragging on, but this time I just wanted more.
You could always pack all your stuff up in a box and then put it all back again.
Which is what I did, because my parents are moving, so I went and helped them pack. And by the way, this is freaking horrible, and it's on the topic. I realize what a shit son I am because I think I have about 30 or 40 big storage boxes at their place, like proper,
Whoa.
60, 70 liter boxes. Yeah, full of
How many?
my shit. I reckon there's got to be, I'll count them next time, but there's got to be at least 30.
That's a lot, dude.
Oh, it's insane. It's
You
all
got to
it's
move
stuff
on,
like
man.
books. No, it's all stuff that are like I don't know, things like collectors, statues,
Mm.
collector's editions of games, random trash like that, which really is just. And by the way, this is the last thing I'll say about this game as well, because we touched on the topic that it's what I love about it is that it's a very self-reflective game. It's a game that actually really makes you think about your own life and your own experiences in life, moving through life, and the things that you hold dear. And it definitely has made me realized again that I just have too much stuff. And in the game, it's the
Shit,
same. I'm
not this
playing the game
again.
and I'm like, do you really need this thing? Why do you keep taking this thing with you?
We're running long, but I
So,
I
yeah.
would want to
Fantastic
explore this
game.
more. Hey,
Yeah,
quick shout out
some other
to
time.
caller Ben, who's in the Twitch chat.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah, let's jump to the last review impressions, but maybe we'll keep it a bit short because we will be reviewing this game next week, Mike. So, Forza Horizon 5 released early for those who wanted to pay the premium price. For everyone else in the cheap seats like us, it's going to be on Tuesday next week. So, Racing Aficionado Mike got early access to Playground Games' latest entry in their latest flagship series, Forza Horizon 5. Is it the best one yet? ...
Yes,
Mike.
it is. End of segment.
All right, good.
Nice to see you, boys.
Let's go to the wrap up. Let's go to the outro.
Okay. So all jokes aside, well, yes, it absolutely is. I'll keep it short as per your request. So I got early access to it by paying 60 something shmoolas in order to get the premium content pack. Reason being, I thought to myself, you know what, this game is technically free. I know I'm going to play it a ton of hours. I'm happy to actually pay for it. For $60, you get all the car packs, all that jazz, all the added content. Fantastic. So I did, and then I got to play it early. It's hard to judge exactly how far I'm into it because it's not like a story-based game or anything, but I think I'm actually quite far into it. So for example, I've discovered something like 380 out of the 560 roads or whatever it is. So in terms of, the map that I've done, I've well and truly probably traversed 75% of the roads, if that is anything to go by. And that wasn't intentionally going out and trying to find all the roads, because yes, I will do that eventually. Couple of things I'll say. So from a sound and visuals perspective, as others online have said, amazing looking game. I played it on the Xbox Series X. I might give it a crack on PC as well once I set up my new graphics card. The one thing that I don't quite get is why they bothered to include a quality mode on the Xbox version of it. Quality mode caps you to 30, performance leaves you open to 60. It is a game that is absolutely way better at 60 frames per second. Personally, I don't know why the hell you'd want to play it at 30. And visually, it actually isn't a downgrade or anything. Yes, there's less foliage and stuff like that, but you'd be hard pressed unless you saw it frame by frame to really notice the difference between the two.
Just
while
on
playing
that, so like it's not my view, but I did watch a bit of the Digital Foundry coverage of it, and they actually recommend playing it on quality mode. And so there's a whole stuff around why one over the other.
I would never. I've tried both.
Okay.
I actually tried both. And I actually tried quality first because I know how jarring it is to go from 60 back to 30. And
I thought it's more cinematic.
Oh, yeah, very funny. If it was a 24, then maybe. So I completely fundamentally disagree with that. I mean, look, each to their own. Try it in both.
What
it's
do they
just
know?
Personally, the downgrade is seriously, I watch side by side stuff of the two. There's some really good YouTube clips that show it side by side, and yes, you can tell the difference, but it's so minute in so many ways that it's not worth degrading your racing experience going at 30.
To be fair, they weren't like super adamant either way on it.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were basically saying that the game still obviously looks great in the performance mode, but it's obviously when we're talking about those, like, I forget what they talk about, but that special like texturing thing they're doing, like it's procedural texturing or whatever,
And like ray tracing and stuff.
No, so ray tracing.
Photogrammetry.
Yeah, photogram. Like basically, there's more layers of that in the quality
yeah.
mode. But ray tracing, I believe, is only in photo mode and in the showcase area. There's no ray tracing in the main
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
But here's my issue. Yes, of course, visually it's going to look better, but you don't stop. It's a racing game. It's not a game where it's all about looking at every single tiny detail. Everything zooms past you. It's so freaking fast that you can't see those details anyway. To the extent that if you want to take photos and you want to, take in the sights and sounds, you can switch it to that just to go exploring briefly and look at the quality of the stuff. But playing the game, I can't possibly see why anyone would want to play it at 30 over 60. It's just not. It's almost like, why did they even have the option there for that kind of stuff? They should have kept it just for photos.
you should check that video out then.
Yeah.
Will do. And I love those guys, by the way. I think they do amazing stuff. So I'm not dissing their thoughts on it.
Well, so like Swinny, you're playing it next week, yeah?
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
The thing for me though is that I still really wanted to delve further into number 4, and that's still a great looking game. Obviously not on this level, but I will for the show. But I probably won't put a lot of time into it because I still feel like I was only a couple of hours in number 4, and I've got an English background, so it's like that's why I really want to play through that one properly because it's set in England, So
Look, honestly, from an overall experience perspective, it refines everything. But to me personally, I don't find it adds anything that much new, if that makes sense, to make number 4 inferior in many ways. It's not. I could go back to number 4, and other than graphically, it's not going to be quite as great. It's got all of the stuff that I want out of it. So you'll enjoy 4, maybe even more than 5, to be honest, just because of the setting that you have more affinity towards.
We'll cover it next week. Like we'll have a go. I'm similar boat to you, Swinny. I probably won't put massive hours in. I'm starting a new role as well next week. So, but yeah, I definitely want to check it out. And I haven't actually played any of the Forza Horizon games, so it'll be my first. So it'll be interesting to see how I take it.
Yeah, like I think I've played most of them, so I think for someone it'll be interesting to get a fresh take for jumping in a 5.
Yeah, and I really don't know almost anything about it apart from it's a open world game. I'm like,
it's a car RPG.
Yeah, no, don't say any more because I don't really know anything else, and it doesn't look like Swinny agrees. Let's have that debate next week.
No, it totally is a car RPG. But anyway, we'll debate it next week. I will wrap it up. I'll save everything. I think. Unless you guys want more first-hand impressions, till we all talk about it properly, because there's quite a few thoughts that I have on the game, both good and bad.
Yeah, so. I think let's save it for next week when we'll do a full-on review of it. So that wraps it up for this week's show. Next week we will have those extended thoughts on Forza Horizon 5, and also I'll be picking up the Legend of Zelda Game & Watch handheld. Swinny, you didn't pre-order or order that, did you? No, you've already been burnt once. No alarm.
It didn't have an alarm.
The Playdate doesn't have an alarm either, so you can't order that either.
If they do a Donkey Kong one, I'll buy it.
I wonder if I pre-ordered that though. Sometimes I forget what I pre-ordered.
You don't know
really
if
bad.
you pre-ordered
until I get an
it or
email
not.
and it's like, oh shit, I pre-ordered the Halo Special Edition console or some shit.
You know, Mike.
No, it's not out yet.
You know, Mike. If you did get that counts as 3 different games against your don't buy less games resolution.
I like
in one go. 3 games in 1 hit.
I well and truly screwed that New Year's resolution up. Let's just say. Yeah.
That's
You
awesome.
remember when Mike wasn't buying new games?
No, that was
But
funny.
then I realized I'm on a gaming podcast, and I went, oh yeah, you should probably buy some games.
That's awesome. All right, well, with that, bye-bye.
Catch
Ciao.
you later.